Hi, Ashley. This is Real People, Real Careers, where we follow the stories behind the job, the dreams, and the detours. I'm your host, MasMas, and today we're stepping into your shoes, into your real life journey that might shift the way you see your own. So, with that, I would like to talk about your journey. Can you walk us through your journey into this profession and what steps you took through education, certification, or hands on experience to get where you are today?
Absolutely. So I have owned a wedding and event planning business for about 8 years now. I've always loved the side of hospitality and serving others. And we traveled out west a few years ago, and I fell in love with just the aesthetics of out west and how they treat each other and the hats, of course. So, researched if any type of hat bar was in Cincinnati or what we had to offer in the city as far as the West goes in that aesthetic, and there wasn't anything. So I jumped on the opportunity to start another business, and it has a lot of overlap as far as serving people, make sure seeing how their story is told through a hat. It it has really the business of owning at a wedding and event planning business has really carried over into my hat company, and I feel like has given me that jumping block to go forward for sure.
Wow, that's interesting. And where did you travel west?
So we've been to Jackson, Montana, Idaho, kind of that whole like Glacier, Yellowstone, Teton area.
And Montana and Yellowstone. Yellowstone was like big with hats,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Yes,
yes.
that was a really big inspiration. I always wanted to own a hat once I saw Yellowstone.
Yes.
So, what's your background? What's your education?
So, my degree, I have a master's degree in occupational therapy. I did that for about 12 years prior to opening a wedding and event planning business.
Wow. So, and did you actually work as an occupational therapist?
Yes, yeah, for about 12 years. That's where I practiced.
You probably understand, corporations and, the realities of 9 to 5 jobs.
Very much. And with
Absolutely.
healthcare, working on holidays too.
But what inspired you to, leave such a strong, well-paid career and get into your own business, first with event planning and now hat making?
So that is a story I don't talk about a lot. I had my second daughter in 2015. I had a very traumatic postpartum journey that ended me in bed rest for a year and unable to work. I couldn't go back to work. And I was told in occupational therapy, it's pretty physical. You're lifting people that have disabilities. And I was told I would never be able to do that again. So, and I had always had a desire to plan events. And I have two girls. Their birthday parties are always, annoyingly like over the top. And I just enjoy that stuff. So my husband actually found me my first wedding planning client as I was like just just depressed, didn't, just not myself at all for a while. So about 18 months after I had my second, he found me somebody that he was trying on jeans or something at the mall. And the girl that was, helping him pick out a size or whatever said she was getting married. And he threw my name out there like I was already a business owner. I didn't have a name, I had nothing. So I just kind of just faked it till I made it and turned it into a career from there.
Wow. So you really believe postpartum depression exists, which is obviously there's so much data out there,
Oh
but you
gosh.
went through it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I had a cerebral spinal fluid injury during my epidural, and that's what left me in bed. But yeah, yes, and very depressed on top of that. Absolutely. So the hormones plus like actual, yes.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
You
But
know,
I mean, it's funny to look back at now, and see I would not be where I am today because if that didn't happen, I just wouldn't. So it was
so
a
there's
blessing.
always a detour which changes your path in life.
You're right. Truly. It's hard to
This
see
is
during then, but you can see it later.
This is the story of resilience and a lot of inspiration.
Oh, thank you.
So, actually, tell me the realities of this role. What is the pros and cons of this job? And you left an occupational therapist, a good 9 to 5 job to get into the world of entrepreneurship.
Hmm.
So, can you talk to me about the pros and the cons, the ups and downs? And some days you probably make a great paycheck, and some days you just, you don't get paid.
Yes, and that's definitely the biggest pro and con. I can make more money than I made as with a degree sometimes, and then sometimes I'm making, double less. Um, it is very much a risk, and there's always an unknown. I can walk into an event the same event that I did a year ago, and maybe it was my highest grossing event, and then a year later, for whatever reason, I sell two hats. Um, so there's just such a unknown factor would definitely be the negative of, owning a business, I feel like for anybody. The pros would 100% be the flexible um, hours and being able to be with my two girls and, not take events on days when they have a volleyball tournament or a big school play or something that I don't want to miss that I might have had to miss um, in a regular, typical 9 to 5 job. So the flexibility and being my own boss is great. Also, with being my own boss has the negatives because I have to do everything. Um,
You're a CEO or admin at the same time, right?
Absolutely. Yes, you are. I mean, anybody that owns a business is wearing so many hats. It's not even, it's crazy. Um, all the different things that go on behind the scenes to actually make something run and for something to make a profit.
So, how do you divide your cash flow?
So about 3 months into owning this business, I hired a bookkeeper. The sales tax were trying to keep up with that in multiple states, and I didn't want to screw it up, honestly. I knew I needed to hand something off. That was the first thing I handed off. With that, I have 4 different accounts. So I have what the income comes into, I have my savings, I have when I pay myself, and then I also have my tax income. So everything's divided up in a percentage, and that is how currently that I'm working and trying to keep cost where they need to go.
Wow. So different from a normal 9 to 5 job where you basically have either saving or spending. So now we have saving and spending and operational expenses and then taxes too.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a 4 different buckets for every entrepreneur to know.
Absolutely. Yeah. And a W-9, or W-2, they're just taking out those taxes for you, not.
Exactly. So where do you see yourself going next in your career? Do you plan to grow within this career or pivot into something new or evolve this business in some other way?
Yeah, it's continuing to grow. The interesting thing that I found about Gutsied Up is that a lot of my new things that have come, such as like leather goods, have been from clients just reaching out saying, "Hey, do you do this too?" So I figure it out and I do it. That in the past year, because I've only been open a little over a year, has been what has evolved the business. Definitely have, some big ideas. A lot of people always go to, do you have a goal of opening a storefront? That's currently not my goal. I don't see that as a goal for me just because everybody seems to love the convenience of me coming to them. And that doesn't, I don't see that in the future. I do see maybe like a mobile unit in the future as far as, a mobile truck or something that I can take to events, take to a house, as opposed to like a folding table. So I definitely see it evolving. I also expect clients to continue to bring me ideas of, can you do this? And me figuring out how to do it and then providing that for them.
Wow. So that means, so if I'm having another party, I'm going to say, hey, I have a party. Can you come and make hats for me? And that would be really exciting.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people like it for like a girls' night or, something just different to do where you can lounge in whatever you want, and you don't have to show up in a certain way. And then we just show up with hats, and then you can make them.
And every woman needs a hat.
Everybody needs a hat.
Everybody needs a hat. So exciting. What is the price of your hat and how do you manufacture it and how do you source it? So what's the story behind that?
Yeah, that was definitely the most difficult part starting out was how do I get these hats and how do I not like how do I get a wholesale account? That was probably the most difficult thing for me to navigate on my own because starting a business, there's not a blueprint unless you're gonna, buy into a franchise. So navigating that was difficult. I have found some great wholesalers that I love working with for my hats and leather goods. Same with like the ribbons and the charms and everything else. I feel like I've in a good place currently of products that I like and the price point I like. My hats, I have one sized hats and then I have sized hats. My one size hats start at 85 and those are 100% Australian wool. And then you can add the ribbons and all the embellishments on it. And those are, some
Like
extra.
I have had in mind.
Yes.
See
And
this?
I love it. Love, love, love it.
Yes. It's a few feathers we got from Africa while we were touring
Oh,
around.
wow. And see, it has a story. I love
It
that.
has a story. So go ahead. Yeah. So 85 for Australian leather.
Yeah. And then like my sized hats, like, an actual like a 7 1/4 hat or whatever, those start at 150 and they're also 100% Australian wool. And then you can add on all the things to gussy it up.
Wow. This is exciting. What do you feel and what do you think is the role of AI in your field? And how do you think it will impact your career?
Yeah, AI can be definitely scary to think that it could, take over a job for sure. I might sound, I think because, when you're making something with your hands, um, I think that hopefully eliminates AI taking over that role. I definitely have had, people trying to create things with AI as far as like maybe branding or, you know, um, just I feel like kind of like Pinterest has taken, would give you inspiration. You can now take a Pinterest picture of a hat and give it to AI and be like, AI, I want the hat to be this color, and what would it look like if I added this? So feel like it takes the creativity out of, you creating a hat. If somebody would go down that route as far as like, they have decision fatigue and they can't think of something on their own. But my hope is that, anyone that's creating something with their hands and it's sewn and it's not, it has a more thoughtful effect to it. I hope AI doesn't, take that over in the long road.
Yeah. And a human touch, right?
Right, a human touch and a human story. You can't replace that. AI
It
doesn't
won't.
have a heart. They don't have emotion. And there's definitely emotion created, when anybody, not just hats, when anybody's creating something with their hands, for sure.
And on the flip side, when people create with all these options of hat on Pinterest or on AI Medium, they're going to say, "Hey, actually, can you make this hat maybe half blue and half yellow, and then have some charms here and here?" And that probably gets more creativity and maybe brings more client as well because then
True.
they see themselves in hat in a virtual reality, and it's like, I don't own a hat. Let me get a hat. And
Right.
who do I go and who do I contact?
Yeah. So it could go exactly. It can go a few ways for sure.
So, what would be your advice to someone who's considering this profession? And what advice would you also give it to your younger self?
Don't wait for, the next thing to come. I would say also that it definitely, with anything that you're starting new, it's going to take some time. It's going to, day one's not going to be the best. Maybe even month three is not going to be the best. I was anticipating that I wasn't going to be able to pay myself for the first year. I was able to, which is great. But there's always that, there's going to be a risk involved and, be willing to take the risk, be willing to be uncomfortable, be willing to, walk into a room of people that you don't know and and sell your brand. But to my younger self, I'd probably give the same advice. I would say start when you have the thought. Don't wait for 6 months down the road, year down the road, 6 years down the road. Like start when you think of it, do it.
So would you recommend, our young generation to go in the field of being self-employed and entrepreneurship?
Honestly, that's difficult for me. Like I said, I have a 10-year-old and a 13-year-old girl. I would I would want them to have some type of degree, even if it's associate's degree, to always be able to fall back on for, if we have a COVID year and I can't go to market. Um, Most of my stuff is most sold in person, so that'd be hard. So I feel like having some type of degree certification to fall back on is very smart as a entrepreneur because you need a safety net. That's just the reality of, being an entrepreneur. You need a safety net. So I'd say like, if you're coexisting going to school and starting a business, I would say that's the best case scenario. If you're like, you graduate high school and you're like, let's go. I'm not going to college. Maybe coexist college, community school, trade school, whatever that might be, and starting the business as well.
That's a great advice. So what would you suggest you would do differently or on your experience?
Hmm. There's definitely things I would do differently. Thinking of that like one thing, I feel like it's just like starting when I thought of it, and not waiting and trying to think of the perfect name and trying to make sure, I had every single duck in a row. You're never going to have all your ducks in a row. It's just not the reality of life. You're never going to feel as, most entrepreneurs are pretty much type A, perfectionists, and there's never going to be a time, I don't think, where I'm like, oh, I got it all together. I don't think I'll ever feel like, life is together enough or the business is together enough. There's always a need to perform better, to do better. So, just start from the ground. Day one, you have the idea, get the LLC immediately. That's going to be the easiest part of your process. So go ahead and put it
Yes.
in place, get your domain website, and then, hit the ground running.
Yeah. So that's very beautifully said. So basically, don't stay in the weeds all the time.
Right,
Perfection is important, but the real fun is in the mess of life. So go ahead, do it.
right. That's where you're going to learn too. You learn in
That's
the
what you're going to learn. You learn in the mess because most of your life are in the mess, actually.
100%. It's more in the mess than it's not.
Exactly. And it's more in the gray areas, and there are going to be more grays than basically only black and whites. Yeah. It's just one step at one time and just keep moving ahead.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, thank you so much. I think it was wonderful. And I'm very impressed with your journey. I do love a hat. I do have one, probably two. And once you get one, you want to get another one. And then you want to get another one. So, yes,
We're
I'm
addicted.
definitely coming back to you ordering one more hat. And so, thank you, listeners. Thank you for listening to Real People, Real Careers. If today's story moved you and taught you or reminded you of your own strength, please share it with somebody who needs it. I am MasMas. Until next time, stay curious, stay grounded, and keep building your path. Thank you, Ashlee. And you're going to be coming and seeing a lot of Ashlee's hat on my social media profile.